I'm one person who believes that everybody needs therapy. Every single person in this world needs it. We're all mad to some extent. We just don't know it, honestly. And I say that because the therapist, this stranger you don't know, like we're talking here, there are certain things I might say because I don't know you. Whatever you think is your business. You can judge me if you want, but this is my own reality that I'm talking about.
For me, I cry when I need to cry. I feel when I need to feel. I express as much as I'm able to, and I'm quite in touch with my feelings. Now, it's possible that that's because I grew up amongst women.
In many African homes, identity begins early. Before we know who we are, we're told who we should be. Through parenting, through discipline, through the way boys are corrected and girls are cautioned. Through comments we didn't realize were lessons. Boys don't cry or girls should endure. Most of these messages were not born from harm. They were shaped by survival, by culture, by faith, by systems that once kept families together in difficult times. But today, our children are growing up in a different world, one shaped by media and global exposure. So the question is no longer, what did we inherit? The question is, what do we keep and what do we lovingly interrupt? Today is not about blaming our parents. It's about becoming more conscious parents, caregivers, and community members. Because the future of identity is being shaped right now in our homes, our classrooms, and everyday words. This is Unspoken. Today on Unspoken, we are speaking with this incredible cast about African parenting, gender expectations, and the future of identity. What's great about this conversation is we sit here with performers, leaders, thought leaders, business leaders, who all have some form of experience with children or children of their own. I want to go ahead and throw it to our lovely cast today. To introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Opeyoluwa Fagbe. I'm a program manager with a non-profit. I'm a child protection expert, and I'm the author of the best-selling book, Breaking the Silence. It's a book that talks about my experience with sexual abuse and then how parents can talk to their children about sex in a shame-free and non-awkward way.
Yes, Gaze Baba, Afro Gospel cultural architect, founder of the Armanda Festival, host of the Black Flame podcast, and a couple other things. Married with children.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Ifoma Idibe, and I've had many careers. My core competence is finance, and so I'm a financial analyst as a consultant. I set up a foundation, that's my current passion, called Boys to Men Foundation. And what it is that I noticed that the men don't have a support structure. And I think it's important that men have support as well as women do. And so that for me is a critical thing right now. Just working with Boys to Men Foundation and making sure that that support structure is in place.
Let's talk about that, Mrs. I. You have the Boys to Men Foundation, but I feel like in society now, the gender norms say that men or boys are supposed to be strong all the time. They're not supposed to cry. Um, they're supposed to be always responsible, always tough. What's your take on that experience?
That's where the problem comes from. Because the thing with being strong and rigid is that you can break easily. And so being strong doesn't require you not to be vulnerable. Vulnerability and being strong are not mutually exclusive at all. There's a poem I wrote. It says, "I want to shout but make no sound. There is only silence, the silence of my anguish. For the words I cannot speak. Men don't talk," they say. So it goes on like that. Men don't cry. Men don't do this. All of those things are unnatural. And it is society that has determined how men should behave. And all of us fall in line. And so now that society is changing and women are becoming more independent, men don't know what to do with themselves. And so the identity as a man is changing and is threatened by the changes by the gender narrative that's changing, and you can't stop it. So what do you do as a man? You have to change your mindset. And that's the way I look at it. So Boys Human Foundation, our core thing is to say you're human, first of all. And humanity and masculinity are not mutually exclusive. And so it is important that you learn to be human. Don't forget to be human, because society expects so much from you. And so that's for me is a critical thing. And we start by telling our boys these things. And when boys are interested in particular things, we discourage them. We say those things are for women. Who determines? How were the roles determined? The 21st century is not the olden days. It's a whole different set of rules and behavior. And to survive, you need to adapt.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I was almost moved to tears when you talk about the humanness above anything else is allowing a person to express, and I think that's very important. Coming to you guys, Baba. What do you feel about what Mrs. I just said in terms of boys and men not being able to express themselves?
I don't think I'm the typical example of the average man in society.
Okay.
So me, I cry when I need to cry. I feel when I need to feel. I express as much as I'm able to, and I'm quite in touch with my feelings. Now, it's possible that that's because I grew up amongst women or lead. I'm the only boy.
Really?
I'm born the only boy in my family. I'm the youngest. I have 6 sisters. So I grew up looking up to women. So maybe my introduction to life had to do with I didn't have so much masculine energy in my growing up, if I put it that way. So but I understand what she's saying, because then I went to a boys only school.
Okay.
So then there's that whole brawl and yeah. So there's a bit of a balance for me personally. But yeah, I understand what Mrs. I is saying, and I don't think strength has to do with I don't think we should define strength based on a lack of emotion or a lack of expressing emotion. We all go through a varying range of emotions, and we should all be able to express it regardless of gender,
Love that.
from young up to adulthood, because that's the complete package of what makes you human and who you are.
I would love to bring up that I know that you're a performer as well. And so in performing, naturally you're expressive and you get to pour what's on your heart. Tell me about how much of an impact that has had on you being able to express yourself.
Hmm. I think it helps. It helps because I'm a bit of an honest writer, kind of like a transparent creative, which I don't think we've had so much of, especially in our part of the country. Not part of the country, like part of the world recently. By recently, I mean maybe within the last decade or 2 decades. So maybe the previous generations did more of singing from their personal lives or writing from their personal lives. I did that on my second album, and it kind of worked, because apparently there were several people out there going through the same emotion. For me, it was the case of having been on a particular path and not yet succeeding on the level I had expected to. And so I wrote from there, and I expressed that dream that was still pending, if I put it that way. And apparently there are thousands and tens of thousands of dreamers who are on a journey to finding full expression and manifestation, and it hadn't happened. So when I sang about it, kind of connected with many people. So yeah,
So
in terms of emotion, art, I think as an artist, you have to pour your emotion into your art as much as possible.
Saying that, who gave you permission to be expressive?
give me permission to be expressive? That's an interesting question. I think for me, I didn't need it. I didn't need anyone's permission. In I just I just poured my heart out as I felt it and as I was led, you know. Also, I make faith-based music. And if you know anything about faith-based music, most people, most creatives that make that kind of music, the music is very external. By external, I mean you're singing about a supreme being, right? You're singing about God, or you're singing about heaven, or you're singing about encouraging people. We hardly sing about what you are personally going through on your journey. So that was also a bit of a sidestep from the norm. Do you get? But I think a part of me has always been I've always been had an edge of difference. Also, I mean, people know that most creatives that make faith-based arts, you're not gonna have your head tinted, that kind of thing. So I just kind of like stood out over time. So I didn't need anybody's permission to. The way this generation says it, speak my truth. Even though I know that truth isn't relative, truth is absolute.
Oh, come on. If I say words.
But yeah,
But just speaking about, nobody gave you permission, but in doing so, your courage to be expressive, you also encouraged other people to do the same.
yeah, I think there's this quote. It's by, I can't remember the first name, but I think his name is Williamson. That was then, it was used in this movie, Coach Carter,
Okay.
who says that, hey, our greatest fear, our biggest fear is not that we are incapable, our biggest fear is that we're capable beyond
Measure.
It goes on and goes on to, as we shine our lights, you inadvertently give others the permission to share theirs. So just by living, finding your authentic self and putting that out with courage, somehow you help to strengthen other people's faith and courage as well. It's the power of sharing testimonies. This kind of thing.
Amen. That's good. Coming to you, Ope. I got to meet your son briefly backstage. So as we're speaking about boys to men in his journey, what are some of the things that you're seeing in gender norms that you want to teach him differently?
Oh yeah, so my son is 5. So there are particular things that I'm teaching him as he is growing. I come from a family where there were no gender limitations, although sometimes in the way my parents used to correct us, it was a bit different for the boys and the girls. Like probably when I do something, they'd be like, "Is this how you're going to behave when you go to your husband's house?" Things like that. And so with him, I'm making sure that even as young as he is, I'm making sure that he sees domestic chore as a life skill, not as a gender role. So he's involved from as little as when he was 2 years old. He goes with me to the kitchen. When his dad is in the kitchen, he goes with his dad to the kitchen. I make sure he's seeing that I'm mirroring what I want him to learn. So I'm modeling those characters I want him to learn. And then when he cries, sometimes throws tantrum, I don't say, "Oh, you're a boy," or "You're a man," or something. I let him cry it out, and then I talk to him. I make sure there's a structure in place, because children need safety, they need structure. So, and without that, then it means they're just bringing them up haphazardly, and they just go into the world with no rules, no structure in place. So I'm making sure that he's able to be vulnerable without feeling weak. I'm making sure that he's learning life skills. So instead of saying domestic chores, because a lot of men are uncomfortable with that word, domestic chores, so I say life skills. Everybody eats, everybody lives in a house, everybody, your clothes need to be laundered. So I believe that every boy, child needs to learn such life skills. And of course, I'm also training him up to be empathic. So he should be able to understand how other people feel. It's okay for him to be emotional. It's okay for him to break down, sometimes, and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I know that the gender norms sometimes say that the man has to be tough and the woman has to be submissive and the man has to lead. So at what point is there a line drawn that says, okay, yes, you can be empathetic, but we also still need you to lead because you're going to be responsible for your home? Does anybody have any thoughts around that?
Yeah, I think for me, I would say there should be a cross pollination of gender responsibilities. So you can lead, and then you can also still be soft. And I believe best in leading where you can, leading in the areas where you have where you're strong. So there should be no permanent leadership roles ascribed to either gender. So there should be cross pollination. I should be empathic. I can be empathic, and I can be a leader. I can be a good mother. I can also fit into some roles that fathers do. So cross pollination of gender roles it should be okay.
But empathy is part of leadership.
You said,
Well, empathy is part of leadership.
you think so?
Yeah, you should be an empathetic leader.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, like because I feel like maybe we're making it sound like it's soft to be empathetic. Then leadership you have to be like strong to lead, right? If in leading my children, I have to be empathetic. I have to be in touch with their emotions. I can't just push things down at them in leadership. In fact, I think empathy is a core
Leadership
part
policy.
of leadership. Because if you're not empathetic about what your people are going through, you can't lead them right.
Can't serve
Because
them.
you may only be leading from your point of view or from your you can end up being a driver, like a user. And because leadership, there's leadership in various spheres of life, right? So if we raise boys, raise girls, whichever gender, we also can't raise just thinking about family. You're raising an individual that is going to function in marketplace, that's going to function in society. So we have to raise well-rounded humans, right? That whether they are interacting with spouse, interacting with friend, interacting with a competition, even in competition, you can be empathetic. And for instance, you watch sports, you can tell an empathetic player from a selfish, self-centered one who doesn't care whatever happens to the opponent, right? So I think that we just need to groom well-rounded people. So I mean, what she said is very powerful in also trying to ensure that her son is empathetic. It's important, right? But I'm saying it's not like there's leadership, then and then there's empathy. Empathy should be part of leadership. We should have empathetic leaders. If our leaders in Africa were more empathetic, we'll have a better society.
It's a beautiful. I actually think that parenting, we're talking about African parenting. African parenting typically is not very empathetic.
Yep.
And so modern parenting is understanding that without empathy, you lose your children. I often say to people that there are different levels of parenting depending on the age of the child. When your children are under 10, for example, or 8, let's say under 8, you're telling them what to do.
Yeah.
You're an autocrat. You may be a benevolent dictator because they need rules. When they get to the age where they begin to ask questions, you need to start connecting with how they're thinking. You can't do that without empathy.
Yes.
How they're thinking, what is it they're trying to do? And even though you still take the final decision, you've given them the opportunity to be heard. And that makes a difference. By the time they become teenagers, you need to be listening more. Because what happens with teenagers, if you use the same parenting style you use for children, for a teenager, you're going to lose the teenager. They're going to clam up. They'll look for another role model, look for somebody else to talk to. You've lost them. By the time they're young adults, you're not having conversations anymore. As a matter of fact, a number of young people, I remember once I was asked to come and speak to some children in a school, and they said to me, that the teachers always just accuse them of things and don't give them the opportunity to explain. And then they report to their parents, who also don't give them the opportunity to explain.
Wow.
And so that they're just waiting for the time when they'll finish school and leave the house. That's not good. I know that my older son was the one who brought to my attention the importance of changing my parenting style when he was 13. He suddenly started calling and saying, "How was your day?" And I'm thinking, how was my day? And then I understood he was trying to say to me that, "I'd like you to tell me about your day."
Wow.
It's not just you asking me, how was your day? It's how was your... And so a conversation begins between parent and child that continues into adulthood. It's important. Different parenting styles, African parents need to understand that. And very often they don't, because they think that as the parent, you're the owner, you're the master. It's what you say.
Do you think this generation is doing better at this?
I think this generation is erring on the side of not raising their children at all and letting them do whatever they like, and thinking that it's modern parenting.
It's like going on the other
But they still
extreme.
need a level of...
So they're going to
So
the other
like this
extreme,
generation is going on the
absolutely.
other
Whereas
extreme.
the trajectory should be in the middle. And speaking to your point about leadership, when you were talking about leadership and about roles, it's funny. I have a traditional view, by which I mean that in the house, I think the man is the leader of the house. However, he's the first among equals, which is to say that he's not better than me because he's a man, but because you can't have everybody lead at the same time. So you'll have that conversation, but in certain decisions, have the conversation after decision, and you will find that what do men want? Most men will tell you they want respect.
Peace.
So that's so honestly, at the end of the day, if you say, fine, you're the head of the household,
Peace.
but we'll have a conversation, you've acknowledged his role. And so he's not going to resist a lot of the other things you're going to say. And so it's important and that comes from empathy. It's a recognition of how people feel and what is important to them. And so I think it applies. And again, to his point, leadership without empathy is really dictatorship.
I was going to say that. Wow.
And that's really what it is. So it is important. But putting it in the context of parenting, if you don't understand your children, you cannot raise them. They will raise themselves after a while.
Wow. Oh my, no, we can't clap for her. Please clap. Wow. You said so many things. So I want to start with the conversation that you had with your son about when he started having a conversation with you. I remember growing up, like my parents were very strict about face your books. Yes. But then I was going through things emotionally that, like, I'm telling my mom I'm having a little anxiety. I'm feeling it. She's like, I don't care, face your books. But I don't count it's any wrong because I know they did the best they could with what they had. But I remember wanting
Face
that.
your book.
I said stop. I didn't go all right. But I just remember that switch of like, I want to tell you about my day. Like, I don't want to just always face your books. I'm facing it best I can. But that's such an important evolution in I think in parenting. So
I think it is. And my children are adults and they're married. And their wives think that they're the best thing after sliced bread. So we couldn't have done a bad job. And their in-laws think that they're great sons-in-law, and that is saying something as far as I'm concerned. Because the taste of the pudding is in the eating. And the thing with parenting is that you don't know how a child will come out until the end, when it's all done. And that's the dangerous thing as well. Which is why understanding the people you're dealing with is important. So if somebody comes to you and says, your son told a lie, And so that tendency that parents have of believing what they're told, you're not going to do it. You're going to say, my son wouldn't do that.
did you know his character?
Yes, because But you're going to speak to him afterwards. And you're thinking, I'm hoping that I wasn't telling a lie myself and saying you can't, So it is.
Hold him accountable.
Because I think it's really so important. African parenting, as I was saying, this permissive parenting thing. I've been to parties where young children, like your son's age, 5, are allowed to go around in people's houses, touching things and saying they want this and they want that. And I'm thinking, how? And their parents are there and thinking and smiling and say, oh, they're children. How? It's unacceptable. If you go to someone's house, you don't touch things. You have to teach the child that. Home is different from outside. And this is the thing people don't understand about going to school. Going to school is not just about knowledge, because you can do homeschooling. You can be taught at home. And you can learn on the internet. People learn on the internet now. You socialize. So your children go to school to socialize, to know that when they do something they shouldn't, they're going to get a slap from someone, some other person's child. They're going to get a push. And they learn to push back when it's necessary. And they learn boundaries. We have to teach our children boundaries. And so permissive parenting doesn't teach boundaries. It teaches entitlement. And entitlement doesn't work. They find out too late. When they're in the workplace, it's already this woman and the bosses. They find it's not working. And that's the challenge that we have. And that's my concern with a lot of the young people that I come across. They feel the scale should bend to their whims. But the whole purpose of working in office is to have structured learning so that when you go out and do your own thing, you have a sense of the kind of structure you want to put in place. Wow.
I'm thinking, oh, go ahead. Concerning that pregnancy parenting, I'd like to just make a short comment on that. I believe that why a lot of parents of this day do the permissive parenting thing is because they haven't come to terms with how they were weird in their childhood. So they now tend to overcompensate for the trauma from their childhood. So, okay, let's say you have someone that while she was growing up, she was not allowed to talk, she was not allowed to make decisions. Her parents were overly strict. Then she has her own child. She doesn't be overly strict like her parents were with her. So she's finding it difficult to create a balance, and then she wants to overcompensate. She doesn't want, like, for me now, but I grew up with zero offensive words. My parents never used offensive words on us, and my parents, they never believed in corporal punishments, beating and all that. So I don't beat. But then my husband grew up where, they beat, mercilessly, and stuff like that. So at a point there was this little clash of, and then because of that, he also kind of, I don't want to beat too, and all. But sometimes flogging, a little spanking here and there is good. Is good for the child. Yeah. So, but because he came from that place where he was always, they beat at every little thing. So there's a tendency to not want to, when you should be hard on the child, but because I don't want, because my parents did me, I don't want my child to but then you can always create a balance. So I think that's where this permissive parenting thing comes into play for a lot of modern parents. So if you don't heal your childhood trauma where you have been wounded, then it's either you go to the extreme of the permissive parenting, or you also do the same script of how you were also brought up.
Wow. Okay.
That's just to say, what you say is true. But as an older person, if I may call myself that, I think we're making too many excuses for our behavior. I think we're assigning too many things to childhood trauma. Everybody has trauma of some sort or the other. Your parents may not have beaten you. They may not have said harsh words. But life and socializing in school, they have inflicted some wounds on you. So how far are we going to let childhood trauma affect what we do? So the responsibility we need to take as well. Learning. I'm one person who believes that everybody needs therapy. Every single person in this world needs it. We're all mad to some extent. We just don't know it, honestly. And so I say that because the therapist, this stranger you don't know, like we're talking here, there are certain things I might say because I don't know you. Whatever you think is your business, that I might not say in front of people because I'm thinking they're judging me. I'm thinking here, you can judge me if you want, but this is my own reality that I'm talking about. And so I think that you have to have someone that you can just say things to, who will tell you things that are true of yourself, that make you pause and listen. And mindfulness is a big thing now, as you know. And so it's important. And in doing that, you're also teaching your children the act of self-evaluation and and introspection. That's the problem. We can't keep just responding. We can't keep responding. We're not robots. We need to think. And so if you think that your parents were flogging you and therefore ask yourself, whether being absolutely permissive with your children will work, and you will see your children getting spoiled. There's a friend of mine, her daughter throws herself on the ground, tantrums, permissive parenting. When you see that, you have to know that there's something you're doing wrong.
Yeah.
You have to step back a little bit, go back towards the side of your parents and being firm. And you have to study. I'm sorry. Go and study. It's not negotiable. There's just some hard things you have to say. Because if you don't, that child is your responsibility for life. It is a frightening thought for a child to be your responsibility for life.
Okay, so I want to talk about that because the message that I'm getting from you, they're two beautiful messages, but one is that of breathe a little bit as a boy, child, or a man and explore new avenues of your person, but also in parenting is also a little bit more strict and structured of like you still can't go and be touching everything I do and everything. So where does how do you define that?
There's words that's in the title of this, so the topic, identity. And so it's in defining a new identity for people, not even just male or female. Who are you? What matters to you? And you can only find or define identity if you have a sense of right and wrong. As a man, if your identity is tied up in providing, if you lose your job, then you think you failed. And so it's very dangerous to tie your identity to particular roles, which is where I agree with you in the sense of this, let's not tie ourselves too closely to gender roles. I think that gender roles should be fluid, by which I mean that if the man is a better cook, maybe he can be a chef. The best chefs in the world are men.
Yeah.
And that it's not that at home his wife has to cook. If he's a tidier person, then he can tidy up the house. If she's not as tidy. And so if you define roles more loosely, the man won't feel that when he's tidying the house that he's being effeminate. It'll just be that, oh, I'm just tidying the house, I like a tidy house. He won't feel if he goes to the kitchen to cook that he's being effeminate. It'll just be a case of roles. But he understands that he's the man of the house.
Correct.
And that to me is important. Like I said, I have a slight traditional bet when it comes to that. He's the man of the house and he does have some responsibilities. But he's not expected to carry the load alone. And so whilst he's the head of the household, if there's something that needs to be done, that he needs help, his wife should intuit, and that's again empathy, because men will not ask, they will not say it. But if your husband is broke, you know. And so you can say to him, oh, I made some extra money. Oh, why don't you take this? And he's thinking, yeah, she's just being generous. You've noticed he's broke. And he'll know you've noticed, but you won't articulate it. You won't say it, but you understand it. And he respects you for it, and he knows you respect him enough. And so when he doesn't have, he's not going to become depressed because he understands he has a wife who will notice. And so for me, the mindset men should have is that they cannot do everything. A man cannot do the impossible. He can only do what he can do. And so that's the first mindset shift. We did a research and we asked modern men, and they were all Gen Z and millennials. Would you marry a woman who is better qualified than yourself? 90-something% said yes.
Wow.
Would you marry a woman who earns more than you? 80-something% said yes. Would you live in your wife's house? 40-something% said yes. And so men tie being men to being the ones who provide the roof over your head. And the danger in that is that when you can't, do you think also you failed? I always say to young men, if your wife has a job that gives her a house, move into it and save money and invest, because that's the other thing. A man should also define his role by his investing for tomorrow. So when he gets to 60, he's not bereft. These things, so all of these things have to do with identity definition of what you think your identity is, of what you think you should be doing. Don't be rigid in it, but accept certain loose rules, i.e., the man is the head of the household. Yes, the man should provide the roof and provide money for food, but it's not rigid.
Yeah.
It is a guide so that somebody is taking responsibility. And that's really the way I look at it. And that's a loose way to look at it, so that you're joining forces financially and in other ways and raising the children alone. By the way, also, most of the respondents said 90 something percent said both parents should raise the children. But men, a lot of men are absent. They're absent fathers. And the rest of the young men I talk to are closer to their mothers than to their fathers. Yes. Because their fathers still retain that I am a man and I shouldn't be that accessible. My feelings shouldn't be that whatever. And it's a mistake. Because how is your son going to learn how to be a man in terms of responsibility if he's not learning it from you? And so all these things are some of the confusions, the things that are causing confusion in terms of both parenting and in terms of role definitions. And I think it's important to define those things.
Yeah. Beautiful. Coming to you, guys, Baba. You are a performer, you're a father, you have a podcast, you do so many things in leadership. In your family life, how do you go about inspiring your children to, not necessarily looking at certain gender roles, but how do you inspire them to be successful and incredible citizens?
If you don't understand your children, you can't lead them. Something like that. I'm not sure if I get it verbatim, but say something like that. For me, my understanding of that is you have to, as much as possible, know your child. Like, study your child. On a level, study your child. On a higher level, because, like I said, I'm big on faith. So I'm in touch with my spirit realm.
Yeah.
So there is a level of understanding of my children that I know based on observation. There's a level I know based on spiritual literature. Right? So there are expectations I might have of one child, or direction I will give to one child that I won't give to the other. Right? I have two sons. I understand their uniqueness. Even though they are always together, play together, I have an understanding of their path. Right? And that guides me in guiding them, if I put it that way. So what have I learned from my own journey that helps me guide them? I pretty much did well in school. That's like academics. I didn't do badly. I was not the top.
Because you're creative.
But at least, bad as a bad, we don't fail. You understand? I studied economics in school, in a unit, finished with a second class upper. So I could have been maybe an ED by now.
Okay.
Go back. Yeah. Like, for real.
Yeah.
I could. Yeah. Do I regret it? Of course not. I'm where I'm supposed to be, doing what I'm supposed to do, influencing millions of people here. Right? Now, from my experience from childhood into adulthood, I could tell that academics is not that deep. Like, you can come top of class all through your time in school, and you're still gonna get a job from someone who finished with a pass. Now, it doesn't mean you shouldn't do well, but you shouldn't break a child's spirit because the child isn't doing that great at the moment. I also know that there were moments in my journey where I wasn't doing so well for different reasons.
Yeah.
And there were times when I then picked it up, and then I'm now doing great. Now, what that helps me to do is I can help give my child perspective when it comes to academic work. I give yourself to this day to face your book, do your best. When the results come out, I will not tell you before the results that don't worry, anything you get is all right. But if the result comes back and then maybe it does 60-65%, I don't tell him he's done great, but I don't beat him like the world is ending. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, you can do better. Give yourself more to this, right? And we'll check at the end of the term. So I'm a bit more understanding. I also want to understand. Do you understand what they're teaching? Like when you sit in class, do you get it?
Applied. Can you apply this?
Like if you don't understand, tell your teacher now. I don't understand what you have taught. Can you explain again? Right? But I also would try to pay attention to the aspects of life where I know would have a bearing on his path that I already have an idea of. Do you understand?
Yes.
So how do I help my children? These are some ways. I also know that I'm not going to push any of my children to try to do what I'm doing. Because I know many times our generation, our parents' generation kind of erred in that area. The lawyer, you want a lawyer. At least one of you, so that my chambers does not
Legacy.
it seems like that's legacy.
Yeah.
But not necessarily. So because I went a completely different route from my parents, and both of them went to be with the Lord last year. Yeah. And they were both proud of me before they departed. This is where I'm going. It's not the
No, sorry, I went.
Right.
You.
Yeah. This is where I'm going. What I learned, like we should try to pick patterns and principles, not just actions. What I picked from that is it means that my children can pick their own paths, and eventually I'll be proud. So I don't need you to sing. I don't need you to come into entertainment. I don't need you to come into any path where I am, right? But I need to hand over to you principles of life. That in any space that you go, any field that you go, any sector, any realm of life where you choose to go with God's leading, you will excel and you get to the top of that space. That's how I try to do. That's how I try to guide my children.
That was a phenomenal answer. Coming to you because in the spirit of you touched on, your children don't have to do exactly what you do. Do you have any singers though in any of your children? Can they
That
sing?
I can tell that.
Yeah, a little something.
Well, I mean, with observation,
Okay.
I'm observing, but I'm also not. If you do too much,
They don't want it.
no, not that you don't want it. You can fall into that trap as well. So expose them to skills. Let them learn the piano. I didn't learn the piano now. Learn the piano. And you're not learning the piano because I want you to make music. Learn the piano so it teaches you coordination, teaches you. Learn sports because it teaches you fair play. It teaches you. Learn different things because of the soft skills that you get from those things.
Yeah.
Because if you learn, say, cricket, and you're going to throw 6 balls as a bowler, and you see that 3 are failing, you still have 3 more. So you can learn doggedness from that. If you learn football, you can learn teamwork from that, and that can then help you in your path. It doesn't mean you're going to be a footballer. Right? I went to the university, I learned structure. The biggest things I learned from the university is not DYDX, differentiation and econometrics and all of those things, is understanding that if you do not give yourself to routine and to structure and to modeling and to getting up at a time because you have a class at 7:30, nobody's going to wake you up. If you don't get up at 6:30, clean up and head to lectures, you're going to miss that lecture. If you miss that lecture, it's going to have an impact on when you're going to write that test because you missed the class, you're reading someone else's note. You learn actions and consequences, and it helps you in life. So there are different things you have to expose your children to that will eventually build that well-rounded individual that can make it in life and thrive.
I like that. When it comes to, we talked about permissive parenting, and you mentioned college and choices and guiding. And with that being said, like there's a discussion about if you will allow your child to pick their major or what they want to do, or is it something guided where you want them to make sure, or something like engineering or nursing or lawyer, that when they come out, they will be able to take care of themselves? Is there a difference between passion and being able to sustain yourself? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I would say that with the proper guidance, a child should be allowed to be what they want to be and not necessarily what you want them to be. Okay, I would say my son is still pretty young, so we don't know. But then there was a time that his teacher called me and she said, "Oh, he's not reading as much as she wants him to read." And I wasn't bothered one bit. When I was 7, 8 years old, I couldn't read. Probably just eat on, but look at me now. It wasn't a telltale to what I would be because I couldn't read at 7 years old or at 8 years old. And what he can read at the moment, at 8, I couldn't read it. He reads 4-letter words, with phonics and all that. But she was complaining that she's this, he's that. But then with him,
That's why you're paying her.
sometimes these teachers, they don't talk, some of them don't understand learning styles, and all those things. But then with him, I realized that he's very creative. And then he could be here and he would tell me that, oh, there are sea animals. There's a turtle here. And then he would look at the cloud and then he would say, there's a horse. This looks like a horse. Is very creative and expressive. So because we understand that about him, we provided him with tools that would encourage him to, express that side of him. So we're not, we want him to do well academically. Yes. I teach him at home, so he could do better. But then I'm not, oh, you must be the first in your class. You must, and personally, I think that a lot of kids that do really well academically, they are the first, their parents or whoever is always hard on them, should be the first. At the end of the day, I've had experience with this with some friends that have always been the first, and all that. But then their social life, social skills, soft skills is zero. They find it difficult to thrive out there because it's just this academic thing. So with my child, I'm bringing him up to be who he wants to be, but with proper guidance from us as his parents. So there's no rigidity. There's no, oh, it must be this or it must be that with him.
Okay, I like what you said about your children and the idea of activities and learning things from activities. And that's what a lot of, again, African parents don't understand about school. I went to St. Saviour's, I also went to Corona, and the teaching style is different. Corona is more oriented to learn the book. St. Saviour's is more understand. If critical thinking is not in your curriculum, you cannot thrive outside. And that's exactly the point you're making. So the purpose of education is to open your mind to the possibilities, to allow you to think critically, to analyze, to see things, to create or to know where the relationships are in things and the benefits that you can get from things.
Yeah.
To know that sportsmanship is important, not just in sports, because sportsmanship allows you to lose, understanding that this is a better man, and you can shake the person's hand and say, you deserve to win.
Yeah.
It's also about understanding that you have to be happy for people
When they win.
when they win, because it also relieves you of the stress of envy. And you have to teach yourself to be happy for people. If you're not instinctively happy for people, teach yourself to be happy for people. And my son said something interesting today, a couple of days ago. He said, now I understand why parents speak to their children about careers. Do this, be this. Yes. You've talked about looking at your sons and trying to figure out where, and so your job would be to advise them, but not to insist. And so if they take that advice and you are correct, then they'll thrive. But it is for that child at the end of the day to find it. I was surprised when my son said, I have to tell you the truth. I really was. He said, I can see why some parents insist on do this, do that. Because he says to me that life is difficult. And you want to be sure that your children will survive and thrive in the world in which they're going to find themselves. And that's the opposite of what I was talking about. You don't want a child who depends on you for life. And so when he said it, I said, yes. Because again, we allowed them to do whatever it was they wanted, but they chose to be educated. And they both have master's degrees and they both work. And so we're happy. We're not responsible for them financially. And it is for them now to pass that on to their children. And so those points are really just, honestly, I think it's important because both of you are still raising children. I'm not. And I'm happy that I'm not, but you're still raising children. So you're still concerned about how will my children turn out? How will he turn out? But what you're doing is what you should be doing. And I like your point about faith.
For the name of the Lord.
I'm telling you the truth, it's on your knees. It doesn't matter what else you say. So what you said about faith, on your knees. When I say to people that I started praying for my children and the wives they would marry when they were still in primary school, I'm not kidding. So it's on your knees. Faith. There's no substitute for it. Whatever else you're doing, it is with God's will,
Background.
by God's grace at the end of the day. Because what do we know?
Because you can do your best and then things turn
Leave
out
the
the
rest,
opposite way. Yeah.
This has been fantastic. I think I've been so overjoyed by this conversation, more than I could have even imagined. Let's pull something. Let's go in your childhood. Let's think about what you learned from a parent or an aunt or an uncle. Some advice that you got from somebody that you will now want to give the younger generation that's watching that has been very impactful for you.
Integrity. I think there's no substitute for your words being your bond. If you say you're going to do it, do it. If you can't do it, say you can't. If someone asks me for something, I'm unable to do it, I'll tell them I can't. And I might explain why if it's necessary. I won't say, oh, yes, come and see me. No, I think it's dishonest. And so integrity, there are many words that are part of integrity. One is keeping your word. One is honesty. One is just talk straight. They just and do you and be you. You can't be anybody else. And learn to accept people's criticisms with grace.
Yeah.
They may not be right, but accept it. And if there's a sort of dissonance, cognitive dissonance, ask yourself why. Maybe there's something you need to work on. But integrity for me is one word that is integrity.
Right.
Is just critical.
My childhood, my mom told me something one day, when I was a teenager then, that her mom told her. And I find it it just came to my mind as you spoke now. We were working, she was trying to do this gardening in front of the house. And she was giving me tasks, and I was there's no English for that word. It's more roju. It's not lazy. It's like you're being reluctant to do work. Like the work is, and she said, we speak Yoruba at home. She said, her mom told her this when she was young. I'll say it in Yoruba. I'll try and translate. Said, Olenishe. To buy your Leni dear. Loma dakomelo. What that means is work is lazy. That's work that you need to do. That work is lazy. That if you dilly-dally and slack before work, that's when work becomes hard to you. And she explained it like this. She said, if you have this work to do, the moment you start doing that work starts running away. Like, you realize that if you have 60 things to do, the moment you start, it becomes 59, 58. So the work is running away, right? That the moment when you are now the one who is doing I can't do this work, then it becomes a mountain to you. And I never forgot it.
Great advice.
I never forgot it. It's interesting that I remember it now.
For me, from my childhood, I would say one of the best things that I learned from my dad is actually related to parenting. And he always says communication is everything. I learned first about intentional dialogue from my dad. He likes to talk. He talks a lot. Conversations. And he would always say that there's mirroring, there's validation, and then there's empathy. Now, those three things, if you get it right, it applies to every area of life. And then, I mean, you would be able to go through life almost seamlessly if you are able to apply mirroring, validation, and then empathy. So, intentional dialogue, I learned it from my dad.
Well, I want to say thank you to this incredible panel, and I think you guys have said so much that I even will continue to ruminate on for weeks and months. But I just want to say thank you guys for your expertise, your love, your care, your kindness, and the work that you do with your children and with others in the community.
Thank you.
But yeah, so I want to say thank you guys, and may we continue to raise the next generation to be all that they can be. When children grow up in homes where they are heard, believed, and protected equally, they don't just survive. They learn trust, they learn boundaries, they learn who they are without fear. Equity in parenting doesn't mean rejecting culture. It means refining it with intention, compassion, and courage. The future of African identity is not being written in policy alone. It begins written at dinner tables, in how we discipline and in how we listen. And perhaps the greatest legacy we can offer the next generation is not perfection, but consciousness. This is Unspoken.